same time, we're going to attempt to help you gain the ability to set up action groups and fight this. And quickly, I guess, a facilitator's meeting is a meeting where the consensus of the goal's already been picked. They know what they want to do, and they just want to get you to it. And they ask questions to it. They'll ask questions and say, well, can we all agree on this? And when you say yes, that's the so one of the keys to this is that then you will end up with this whether you want it or not. What you have to do is break the facilitator's ability to create a consensus in the process, because it's your property. And there's something really important to explain. I don't know how much anybody knows about fee simple title, but fee simple title says you own your property. The bank may hold the paper, a mortgage or whatever, but you actually own that property. And constitutionally, they have no right to put an ordinance over the top of your property. They've been doing it for years, trying to break this system down. But the reason it was that way is so that in the founding of this country, you were protected from the evils of the military, the police, and all of the possibilities of tyranny in disguise in another way. So what you're doing is you're fighting for that fee simple title right. Most of these rules that they put in are what are called soft law, that they're really not. The state tries to make them an ordinance, and they try to do a lot of things, but most of these are what are called soft law, and they are trying to put them on your property based on somebody else's opinion. And they've set it up so that it keeps filtering down and everybody just doesn't do anything. And so what happens in the end is you end up with it whether you want it or not. And what we have to do is start to push back against that. And we push back with action groups, and you're going to end up working on your county commissioners. You're going to end up working on your city council members, and if you need to, you vote them out. And you find city council members, and they are available. The city of Damascus, every one of you who's here tonight who has a computer, go to a site called Ask Damascus. And that site will help you understand how the citizen can gain control. Because they're in Metro. Metro is a worse situation than you are here. And they defeated Metro and got rid of their comprehensive plan by work through the citizenry. So it's all available to be done. It is totally capable of happening. It takes just some organization and some knowledge, a little bit of guts, and you go up and you just be there. Clackamas County's in Nickley. We're still trying to figure out how to deal with that. Eugene's in Nickley, but Lane County stopped because we got into Lane County and gave them really good economic reasons why they shouldn't, plus common sense reasons. And for those of you who haven't been involved in this too much, you raise your hand, and I have a pamphlet which will give you some websites you can go to gain research and gain a little more information and knowledge, and I'll pass them out while we're dealing with this. The other thing is, I don't know where else you want to go, but take some of these, the primer, the ICLEI primer, because a lot of people don't have it. There you go. Take a picture of this. All right. There. I think that's all. And there's another thing. I did a little research on a group, and this is one of the reasons why the research is interesting. I'm not from here. I'm from Oregon City, but I happen to, having done this before with other places, I ran into a site called the Environmental Working Group, and the Environmental Working Group has the water studies of every city in the United States. North Corvallis has a well called the MHP Well 1. It's in North Corvallis, whichever direction north, I'm confused to here, but it's someplace over that way. It's rated at 98% out of 100. It's better than 2%. Only 2% of the wells in the country are even better, and I would say that's Colorado Springs and Denver or someplace where it's all snow. The next one is Vineyard Mountain Water, and there's another one, the City of Corvallis. They're all rated at 98, 97, and 90, which is the highest water recording you can get, and this is 2008 and 9. So they're arguing about and wanting to put restrictions on your property for a reason that doesn't actually exist. So since it doesn't actually exist, it's being done for a different reason. It's like having a kid who tells you, I didn't really hit the car over there, you know, and you know as well as I do that he did, you know. And they're just telling you something to get by. Stebbins mentioned to Mr. Yates that the rules were made in 1973. Well, he finally had to go back and back check that, and it turns out that the city has been using ICLEI since 2008, but clear back in 98, the state was processing guidelines for this sort of thing because the state's been involved in it through Metro. Metro's been the working horse for the state of Oregon. Now, I'm going to say something really blunt. If you've been voting, I'm not a party person. I'm to the right of Attila the Hun, so don't misinterpret where I come from. But what I'm telling you is that no matter how you've been voting, it hasn't been working. So I want you to understand that. And it's imperative that you work with people who are going to look at family versus the state and family versus one world type operations, because that's what you're into. It's in the education system and it's everywhere. So small pockets of resistance do a wonderful job of killing it, and so that's what we're all about. But there are multiple groups around you that are working on it in one way or the other. So you just need to sit back and watch who the groups are. It's like watching a game of football or chess or whatever. You're watching to see who the players are. Once you know who the players are, you start getting rid of them. And that means you vote them out. You only got 3 county commissioners in this county. That is a godsend for you. Because if you can get one of them, and if you got a weak one, you force the weak one out. That's going to take some work, but if you're diligent and you get out there with your voter registrations and you do your job, it will work. We got rid of one in Clackamas County. They have 5. The reason I say this is because this man had been assigned as one of the directors of ICLEI in Washington, D.C. in the UN program, and we got rid of it. And it put a real nail in their coffin. And we're not done with them yet. It takes time. But Damascus is a smaller town, and they've got it right. And when you go on their website, Ask Damascus, and look, you'll see a lot of good information. I don't know what else to say. Oh, you want to talk about the Pacific Coast Collaborative? Show them that one example. Show them the one where they pretend that they got agreement from British Columbia. There's a lot of environmental groups that are hidden inside what sound like benign groups. And he's got one, it's called the Pacific Coast Collaborative, which is trying to tie up the West Coast beaches and everything with the same issue. And he'll tell you about a really interesting spot that I didn't even catch that's,
the back.
I'll tell you how insidious.
They have the Prime Minister of British Columbia, the Governor of California, the Governor of Oregon, and the Governor of Washington. And what they do is they will leave you to believe that these individuals signed it. But when you read it, the wording, like I shared with some of you, watch the wording. The wording is they did not sign it. They just made it available for them to sign. And this Pacific Coast is, their goal is the water, the power, and the government. And this is your house.
I'm going to give you one example of how this works. Wally Carson, you might not remember, but he was a Supreme Court Justice. And one of my mentors talked to me about the fact that Wally Carson said that there's a shift going on, and the shift is from the word participation to the word involvement. And those 2 words are entirely different. And so the original intent of the 73 rules of LCDC land control were to have the farmer participate in the protection of his own land. That makes sense. And have the urban people doing the protection of their own land through the urban goals and various methods. But they have shifted because they couldn't gain the control they wanted. So they changed from the participative voice to the involvement. And when you go home and look at your dictionary, you'll find out that they don't relate. They're not the same. And so when you participate, you're inclusive. When they involve you, it's a facilitator's meeting. That's the difference. And a facilitator's meeting is just a control system to get you to a place. And if you don't want to go there, don't get involved. Don't participate that way. And it's very simple. That they want consensus. And their method of getting consensus is to create the question. It's like a poll. I'll give you the example of a poll that'll work this way. If you have 4 points in a poll, let's say you have excellent, good, fair, and poor, your choice is actually between fair and poor. Well, you don't really like that. So what they should have, and they don't do, is put in 5, which would be excellent, good, average or normal, fair, and poor. That way you have a basis to work from. They never give you a basis to work from. And so they use other things as an excuse. And I hope that helps you understand what they're attempting to do here. Okay? And you got those things passed out? And I don't know what else to tell you other than just recognize these things.
You know, I have a key word for you. Most of you are parents and grandparents. And my girls, when I was raising them, they said, Dad, the only word you know is no. And that's the only word you need to know. No. So, if you have any questions, Robert and I will answer the questions. And we're here to help you to succeed.
And I don't work for the government.
Well, I get a check every month from.
Well, 28 long years.
And we have a couple people. One of them is collecting your email address if you want more information on this, your name and email address. And the other one is circulating a petition it's a pretty mild one, to tell the commissioners they should educate rather than regulate on these issues. So, and I have handouts for anybody that wants them.
We need to back up a little bit so that we clear evidently the entrance area. We need to separate it so people can come in and out. I apologize for that, but we need to accede to his wishes.
He's long-winded. He went longer.
Yeah, that's
If you can clear this area so people can get into the building.
Right, we don't
when
have
you say
to
clear,
block
can we
entrance.
move side to side?
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, just move kind of side to side a little bit and give him some room and.
It's the kind of shirt that
on the other side, so I got it both ways. There's something else both ways. No, it's
backside says my property, my rights, and my responsibility. Now,
like Gene got all his. Well, they told me they were going to put a heater on my pump house. And I told them, you know, go ahead, but I bet you get shot. You don't pay my taxes, you don't pay my mortgage, you don't pay my insurance, you don't owe me money. My wife yells in the other room, is he a father? So I asked, my wife wants to know if you're a father. She says, yeah. He said, so I yelled back, yeah. You with the paper? Happy Father's Day. So you went.
See, this is,
40 pounds.
they tried to pull this on Lane County down by Eugene. They tried to pull this about 4 or 5 months ago. Did you read about it?
well, I know what we used to do in Florence, way back in the area.
They're ruining this country. They're totally
Say no to everything.
Scientists who stand up I mean, they invite the scientists to come at this meeting, and they tell us what they're saying isn't true. Do you see the insanity?
Yes, because
If you need more, let me know. You have a problem with that? He's part of the.
Because they're not necessarily manufactured in the cleanest way. How you doing?
Pretty good.
Coming for the meeting?
It's going to be in that room right there is where it's going to be.
Well, yeah. He's a regular activist. Good to see you.
See one of your neighbors? He was out there someplace.